Hi, many of us are worried that we will outlive our IRAs, our retirement funds. But in actuality, the data shows that the opposite is more likely to be true, that our IRAs will outlive us and end up getting inherited to our children. Today, I want to show you the surprising tax consequences imposed on our children when they inherit our IRAs. I definitely was one of those people who were worried that I will outlive my IRAs until I did this projection of how my IRAs will dwindle over time. We've all been saving very hard our working lives to keep our IRA growing and growing tax-free. When I turn 75, the IRS will ask me to start withdrawing from my IRA. 75 is what they called my required beginning date. If you're born before 1960, that could be 73 years old instead. So at age 75, my required minimum distribution, another acronym, RMD, my required minimum distribution that first year will be $40,000 based on an IRA value of $1 million. I chose a nice round number, so it's easy for us to work out the percentages. So the first year, my required minimum distribution, and you'll hear this term a lot, RMD, is $40,000, and it will keep growing. It will keep going up until I'm about 95, and then it tapers off, just as this graph shows. So this is how my IRA will last if I take the required minimum distribution specified by the IRS. Now, I will be thrilled if I live to 90 years old. 95, that's a bonus. I hope I'll have lots of grandchildren by then. So if I bye-bye at 95, what will happen to all these unused RMDs? This second chart is based on the same data, but it's looking at the balance of my IRA across time. So at age 75, in this exercise, I'm starting off with $1 million worth of IRA. By age 95, I would still have more than half of the initial value of my IRA, because while I'm draining my IRA, the money that's still in there is not going to sit in a pile of cash getting no interest, right? But it at least be in a high interest money market fund that's getting 3-4% interest annually. So while I'm draining the IRA, it is also still growing. That's why you're not seeing a steep line, but you're seeing this curve. And the point I want to get out of this chart is that even 20 years after I start withdrawing at age 95, I still have more than half the balance, the original balance of my IRA. So if I'm not around anymore, where is this balance going to go? If my spouse is still alive, it will be rolled over to his IRAs, but eventually the IRAs will be passed down to the next generation. What's wrong with that, right? Martha, why do you make it sound like it's a bad thing? Inherited IRAs? I wish my parents gave me inherited IRAs. Okay, it's not that inherited IRAs are a bad thing per se. It's only bad because it could be better. The types of assets you transfer down to your children definitely matters. Would you rather get a brokerage account of Apple, Nvidia, and Amazon stocks? Or would you rather your parents leave you a farm in Texas? There is a difference of how easy it would be to maintain the assets, how easy it would be to grow the assets, or to get funds from the assets. That is why an inherited IRA is inferior to other asset types when it comes to your children inheriting them. This table shows the difference between your child inheriting a traditional IRA versus inheriting a Roth IRA. Let's start with the RMD. By now, you should be familiar with that term, required minimum distribution. Since I am likely to have already started taking RMDs, I have to start that at age 75, for others it's age 73, then my child will also be required to continue taking RMDs. Once you turn on the spigot, the IRS does not want to turn it off. His RMD amount will be smaller because he will be using a different life expectancy table, but it will still be required every year. And I sure hope that my son, who's a busy entrepreneur, has a good accountant to keep him on track, because if you miss an RMD, you will be penalized. It used to be 50%. Now it's been reduced to 25%. And if you correct it quickly, it could be reduced more to 10%. But penalties are no fun. Withdrawals from a traditional IRA is considered as personal income. So let's see, if I pass away at age 90, my kids will probably be in his late 50s. That's usually someone's peak earning years, and which means that he would likely be in a higher tax bracket. So if the IRS forces him to withdraw the RMD, whether he needs the money or not, and that withdrawal is considered personal income, it could potentially bump him up to the next higher marginal tax bracket. With the Roth IRA, because withdrawals are not taxed at all, where his personal income tax bracket is, it does not matter. Both the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA have a 10-year rule, but it plays out very differently. With the Roth IRA, you can leave your money in there and let it grow tax-free for 10 years and withdraw it the last day of the 10th year, a big, huge payout by that time, and you'll pay zero, absolutely zero taxes. With the inherited IRA, you definitely don't want to do that. I know we've been conditioned and trained to let IRAs grow and grow because it's tax-free growth, but if your child waits till the end of the 10th year to withdraw this big fat inherited IRA, boy, it will shoot up his income tax bracket to levels he might not have seen before. Lump sum IRA withdrawals are a bad idea, whether you wait till the end of the 10 years or whether you do it the first day you inherit the IRA. And I hope I don't have one of these kids who have no discipline and decides to totally cash out the IRA the next day after he inherits it, because a lump sum withdrawal like that would also bump up his income tax brackets to very high levels. Now let's talk about tax rate increases. You don't think tax brackets will go up? I want to show you two pieces of data. What you're seeing is a historical trend of the top federal tax rates. Do you think we're at the lower end right now or at the higher end? The lower end. Taxes used to be a lot higher before President Ronald Reagan. These high tax rates could come back. The next chart I want to show you is why I think there is a high likelihood the high tax rates will come back. It's because of our national debt. There are only two ways to fix this. One is to cut our spending, which we've been trying for years, but we keep breaking through debt ceiling after debt ceiling. The second way is to increase taxes. If the first way is not working, what do you think they'll try next? So 20 years down the road, when my child inherits this IRA, you might be seeing a totally different level of income tax brackets. So all in all, the inherited traditional IRA needs more tracking, more planning, and definitely results in more taxes. So it's not simply a matter of, hey, either I have to pay the IRA taxes or my kids have to pay, one of us have to do it. I don't think so. I think it could be a very different climate and environment when your kids are trying to withdraw this IRA. First, I'm going to try to fund my retirement with my IRA. That's not what most people do. Most people use their taxable brokerage accounts to fund their retirement. Why? Because you only have to pay maximum 20% capital gains tax on the gain of your investments. Whereas if you're withdrawing from your IRA, it's considered personal income, so you have to pay the higher for most people, a higher personal income tax on the entire amount, not just the gain of your IRA investments, but the entire amount, because your IRA was funded from pre-tax dollars. So that's why most people think about using their taxable accounts to fund their retirement. But now that I know what I know, I'd rather that my children get my taxable brokerage accounts and pay zero capital gains tax because of the step-up basis. I'd rather they get my Apple stocks, my Amazon stocks. Unfortunately, I don't have any Nvidia stocks. I prefer they get my highly appreciated stocks with zero capital gains. They can withdraw everything tax-free the next day. Then if they get my inherited IRA, which has no such forgiveness, they will continue to have to pay the IRA taxes, and I suspect their income tax brackets will be higher than where mine is today. Plan number 2 is to convert my IRA into Roth. This is called a Roth conversion, and this video is not doing a deep dive on that, okay? The reason I am converting into Roth is for all the benefits I showed you earlier. It is going to cost me, oh yes. The whole concept of the IRA is that while you're working and you're at a higher tax bracket, you're socking away pre-tax dollars. And then when you're retired at a much lower tax bracket, you can withdraw the amounts and pay less taxes. Unfortunately, many accountants will tell you that tax brackets don't drop a lot when you retire. And I found that very true in my case. Why? I've lost my mortgage deduction. I've lost my childcare deduction, education deduction. And on the other side, I lost my, not a deduction, I lost my husband. So now I file as a single taxpayer as opposed to the much more tax efficient married filing jointly category. And also, I have rental income, passive income, and the stock market has done pretty well for a lot of us the last 10 years. So, that's a lot of dividends and so on. So I do not find myself at the much lower tax bracket that I thought I would be, even though I'm retired. So yes, this withdrawal is going to cost me a pretty penny. But with investments, it's all about trade-offs. Yes, I'll be paying a pretty penny now, but it's still less than what my kids will have to pay later on. Want to know my third plan? You'll love it. I'm going to blow off even more IRA money, taking my kids and their fiancés on holidays, national parks, cruises. I have such great memories of my parents doing the same thing with us, the places we explored and the walks and the laughter that we shared. Everything was just hilarious when you're relaxed on vacation. I hope that my children will share these wonderful memories that we're going to make together rather than managing a cumbersome inherited traditional IRA. Instead, I will leave them assets that are much more manageable and easier to maintain without the uncertain tax consequences in a very uncertain tax climate. Hi, I'm Martha, and in this channel, I decode estate planning concepts so families can avoid probate and minimize taxes. Once again, a reminder that I am not your personal accountant or legal advisor. Have fun!